8 weeks in a row. The evil empire that is the Two Old Farts. Play it! It's the best intro in podcasting, I think. Welcome back, episode 8, right?
Yep.
8 weeks we've been doing this. Two Old Farts. I'm just a little old colored fella from New Jersey, Rico Jambone Esquire, lawyer extraordinaire, joined as always by two of my favorite people, Low Country's own Greg Cassidy, and of course, Durand, Michigan's own Kurt Marks. Boys?
Mayor of Kingstown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a little ways away.
Yeah.
Not far though.
Well, how about this? Tell us what pissed you off this past week. Let's start there.
Well, I got two things, both kind of related. The first one being Donald Trump getting indicted, and the second one watching Fauci on TV. That son of a bitch ought to be in jail.
Now, wait a minute. Indicted? He got convicted this past week.
Or he got convicted,
Yeah,
yes.
34 counts.
And Fauci should be indicted and convicted too.
Yeah, that whole thing was a hoax. That's one of the regrets I'll have for the rest of my life is getting that stupid vaccine. Greg, tell us.
What pissed me off this week is I saw a 25-year-old healthy girl park in my handicap spot and pissed me off. Old fart like me, I need my handicap spot. Right out front.
You are a gimp.
She came in and said, that's her grandma's car, and she's going to park there until the traffic guy comes, and then she's going to move it.
Well, it's your grandma's car, but you're not handicapped.
I am handicapped.
No, I mean her.
Oh, no. There was no handicap sticker on the car.
Jeez, should have got a ticket for that.
Should have been towed.
Should have been towed.
Old fart like me having to walk 10 extra steps.
I'll tell you what pissed me off, and it's, I don't know, probably not a real story from that perspective. I went to the Salvation Army today. For those of you who give a rip, I'm selling my house. I'm going to list it for $1 million. Thank you to Jordan Barham, my local realtor. And there's a million of good realtors out there, but I told her I'd give the young girl a chance. By the way, broadcasting from Ink and Ivy Greenville, we got a little after-work party today, so pardon the background noise. So I decided to give some things away. And among the things I decided to give away was some clothes and some shoes. So I found the Salvation Army on East North Street, and I walked in and they wouldn't take them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
It's not donation day. You're a fucking charity organization. Every day's donation day, you idiots.
I didn't know they had a day.
Of course, the person that I'm dealing with, mildly, if that educated, I had to remind her that this is the Salvation Army. You take free shit. That said, that's what pissed me off, and it took 7 days for me to find something to piss me off. The weekend that was, we had a good time. Greg got a little turned up last night here in Ink and Ivy. Annika came by, had a little fun.
Got a little college World Series going on. My Clifton Tigers won last night. Had a little celebration. We are 2 wins away from going to the World Series, and we play Saturday, Sunday, and hopefully not Monday of next weekend.
And you pulled off the hidden ball trick yesterday against Coastal Carolina. Now, when you coached, was that something that you deployed?
I've never seen it done live. I've only seen it done in replay. And even the announcers last night for the game said they'd never seen it done live.
And of course, Michigan didn't do it because they ain't in the World Series.
Because we got their coaching players.
All right, so
it was Michigan player that probably did it though.
Yeah,
You took half our team.
You know, it's funny you say that. I actually remember talking about that with you all. How many? Jesus Christ, it's loud in here today. How many players he brought down here with him? And I saw, I think recently, a recruit flipped from Michigan to go play baseball down
I don't doubt it.
at Clemson.
You want to play baseball in the spring in Michigan, or you want to play it down here in South Carolina?
Well, that's a good point. I played baseball as a kid growing up, and I'll never forget what it was like to swing a metal baseball bat in New Jersey in the middle of February, early March, getting ready for our respective seasons.
I got to change the subject.
Go ahead, let me hear it.
83 days. The first game of college football is 83 days away. We're getting there.
And who's the first game?
I have no idea. I just heard it on the radio on the way up here.
Notre Dame plays at Texas A&M. I'll be in College Station for that. That's August 31st. And then you guys play August 31st as well.
We play at noon in Atlanta against Georgia Bulldogs.
There must be a game that Thursday.
Probably.
To
Or
start,
Friday.
I would guess.
Maction? You think some Maction?
Yeah.
Action's
My
usually on
voice cracked.
Tuesday. Whatever.
All right.
Sorry.
Recently, I've grown this bizarre infatuation with salted peanuts. I have a whole bag of them in my car and in my golf cart. It's like my my middle of the day snack food, and I can't help it. I walk into the Circle K, and I get 2 bags of these salted peanuts. And there's a African American woman she's got all this jewelry on, and she's behind the counter there. And she looked at me as if what I was doing was an unhealthy thing.
It is.
How? Peanuts are healthy. They got protein and shit.
Yeah, I can't eat it.
Well, you can't eat a lot of stuff over here, Sugar Man. You got a counter full of carbs and Skittles in your apartment. I imagine it's clean these days, huh?
No, they're still there for you guys.
I tell you, when I grew up, Ricky, I was eating peanuts, and you'd get a soft drink, Pepsi or Coke, and put the peanuts in the Coke, Pepsi.
That's sick.
That is pretty fucking sick. That's a southern thing. John Ross in attendance today.
No, low country fella.
Orangeburg, Bamberg, home of is it Mookie Wilson? Oh, Mookie Wilson out of Bamberg, South Carolina. Funny you mentioned old school. That transitions me into my next topic for discussion in this first segment, Ink and Ivy Greenville. Every day, my dad and I had this thing in common. Of course, I learned it from him. We were talking about this the other day. The comment that was made is, does anyone still read the newspaper? Well, now you can just go online and do it. I knew it. I knew you'd do that. My dad and I would wake up and we would get the sports section and go sit on the toilet. And that's how I knew every baseball player's stats, even guys that were just, remember, what was the guy's name? Mark Lemke played for the Braves, and the guy with the big chin. Who's the short Braves player? Jeff Blauser. But that's how I knew what these guys' stats were, because I used to sit on the toilet there with my Star Ledger sports section, like my dad, 8:30 in the morning, and reading the sports. What was the Detroit Press? Is that what you?
There were 2. We got the Detroit Free Press, but the other one was the Detroit News.
Which one did you?
We had the Free Press every morning because it showed up at 5 a.m. Out in the middle of the dirt.
Dirt road you grew up on in Durand, Michigan.
Speaking of sports, let's talk to Rico about his meeting recently with former Braves pitcher Leo Mazzoni.
He told me a great story. He said they were playing a game. I think it was. I can't remember the opponent. By the way, Leo Mazzoni was the all-time great pitching coach for Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz. Very highly respected guy in the sport. I asked him one day how hard it was to or easy it was to coach those guys. He said it was impossible. They had egos. I mean, you would expect that. But he told me a story about a game where Walt Weiss got plunked in a baseball game, and the Braves were up 2-0, 2-1. Excuse me. Going into the 8th, 9th inning, and he told me that Greg Maddux was on the mound. It was going to be a complete game situation, and he said to the guys, Greg Maddux did, you know what, I'm going to go out and plunk the first batter there is. And of course, Leo Mazzoni tells me, he says to him, well, we're up 2-1. It's late in the game. Why don't let's get the first 2 outs, which Maddux could do easily, Hall of Famer. And so Maddux goes, no, it's in this sport, it's an unwritten rule. You plunk the first guy.
Yep.
And we all know that rule.
Yep.
Unfortunately for Maddux, the first guy up was Jose Canseco, who at that time was a pretty massive dude.
Yeah.
So, true to form, Jose Canseco gets plunked by Greg Maddux. And of course, the bench is clear. Yeah, 85 miles an hour against that guy. So, Canseco takes exception to it, and the bench is clear. And as Maddux is sort of walking towards Canseco with apparently no intention to get involved in this fight, Walt Weiss jumps in front of Greg Maddux, and Mazzoni told me, Maddux goes, hey Canseco, Walt Weiss told me to do that. So that was my little Mazzoni story. Leo Mazzoni's a buddy. I've had the pleasure of working with him and his folks, and that's one of the stories they told me the other day when I went and had lunch with them. That said, boys, guess what? We're at our 10-minute mark. First segment of Good Old Fox. Episode 8. Join us in a few. We'll be back with the second segment. This is Greg's favorite part here. He gets his little fight song. Tigers.
3 days.
Segment 2, Two Old Farts, Clemson fight song. Ink and Ivy Greenville, welcome back. We'll chime in with the little Clemson fight song. So last week I had to go get an MRI on my left shoulder. And they stuck a needle this long in my arm, shoulder joint, to get the area numb so they can go in and put this dye in, which allows the MRI machine to see exactly what's going on in there, ligaments, tendons, what have you. I'm no chump, okay? I've done a few things over the years. I've had surgery twice. I can stand things. I hate the dentist needle, by the way. That's the worst needle of them all.
Great.
Second worst needle was this MRI needle. Have you guys ever had that?
I have.
You've not. You have not. You've never had a needle?
No, not MRI.
MRI needle? What about a dentist needle?
When I was a kid.
Greg, tell us about your experience, because I hated it.
Well, I had a knee operation, and they did the lower back needle, like they do epidural, and that effing sucked.
It's going right into the cartilage of your bone, it feels like, right?
Terrible. I've had 9 surgeries. So
You've had 9 surgeries?
Yeah.
You're like a fucking robot.
I am.
You're a bionic man.
How many of those were on the ankle?
I had 4 leg surgeries. I've had 2 shoulder radio, what do you call it?
Scopes?
Yeah, scopes. I've had both shoulders torn rotator cuff. I've had a lot.
Speaking of, our friend Ryan Blass, a.k.a. Colored Ryan, is right behind you. Are you still on probation?
No, I'm off.
All right.
As he leaves like a coward to go home.
Yeah. He's got to get home to the old lady, the ball and chain.
Got the stopwatch on his.
Yeah, also known as his corrections officer. It turns out nothing's shredded in my shoulder, but it's not the most pleasant experience. I had some issue in there, but it turns out it's arthritis, which I'm cool with. Have you ever had a surgery? You need surgery on that nosy, or is it thing
It's
still?
healing. No, they got my sugar under control. It's healing.
Do you put bacitracin or ointment on it?
At night.
At night. And then you sleep with the CPAP mask?
After I put a Band-Aid and bandage it up.
We should record you sleeping at night.
I scared the hell out. My oldest son Rob walked in a couple weeks ago, and I'm all bandaged up with the CPAP face mask. Scared the hell out of him.
You look like Bane from the fucking Batman.
Exactly. He thought I was Hannibal Lecter laying in bed.
Holy
Speaking of old Kurt's unfortunately passed away. Best friends, 2 daughters were in town last weekend from Michigan. Megan and Jill.
Megan and Joe, yeah, we talked about that last week. That's right.
Good
They had a good old time. And last week was Memorial Day weekend, which turned out to be a disaster for travel and all that stuff. But them being there had to be great for you.
Oh, they had a lot of fun.
Good.
It's all about them. They didn't come to see me. They came to see Greenville.
Okay. I like that you're self-deprecating here. And
No, I'm serious. They came to see. I barely saw them.
Well, they used your pool.
They used the hell
Hung
out
out
of the pool,
and lived in the apartment complex over there at McPhee. No, it's always great to see them, and I'm assuming they'll be back next year.
They'll be back in the fall.
Yeah.
At least Megan will be back in the fall.
I think my wife Annika entertained them most of the time. She went to lunch and drinks every night with them.
Which reminds me, your wife went and helped a couple of yours, friends of yours, or a couple, do up their apartment that they just moved into this past Sunday, and that drove you crazy yesterday.
Yeah, we have some lazy friends. Let's just say that. But she never says no to helping anybody.
She's like my mom, same way.
Yeah.
Best food I've ever had was from my mom, but my mom was one of those, I'll do whatever I can to help people out. She was always good about that. But, I mean, should be able to do for themselves at some point.
A little
don't you
bit.
think? Yeah.
Speaking of Mom, my mom sent me old chicken pie last weekend. Just can't beat Mama's food.
No.
I'm gonna miss that when she's gone.
What recipes of your families do you enjoy the most?
Anything my mom cooks.
Anything, right?
But it's all in her head. I ask her all the time, Mom, how do you do this? I just do this.
That's the way you cook. You just throw everything in the cupboard at it.
I mean, she's good old Southern food.
I got to give Kirk credit. His ham and his string bean casserole,
Delicious.
second to none.
Everything he cooks is
Yeah, he's always entertains us with his cooking and
good old cornbread.
what have you. He did fuck up the cornbread one time.
One time.
You remember that?
Yeah, a little too much sour cream.
Yes. Jeez. I think that was the night Carly came over, by the way.
There.
You're a little nervous.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I killed those brain cells a long time ago.
That was a good night. Thanksgiving, 2 years ago? A year ago? Wasn't this past one, I know that for sure. So 2 years ago. Yeah, we had a good time that weekend. Lastly, and then we'll talk about whatever the hell else after this. We were talking about this the other day. Athlete that you hated, whether growing up or now, just a guy that just obviously opposing team, but an athlete that you just couldn't stand. You guys talk about that loser that played for the Cleveland Cavaliers for a long time, but I don't think he would be your all-time most hated athlete.
Aaron Rodgers for me right now. I just couldn't stand that asshole in Green Bay. Favre I didn't have a problem with, but Aaron, no, I couldn't stand that.
Do you think
pompous ass?
the average Packer fan, do you think they adore Rodgers more or Favre? I mean, Favre did get him a Super Bowl.
Favre.
Rodgers won a Super Bowl with him, didn't he?
They both won one.
They both won one. So, I grew up a Los Angeles Lakers fan. There was a guy named Greg Foster that played for the Utah Jazz. And Greg, when I tell you this guy was not a good professional athlete, he just wasn't. But what he would do when the Lakers were down 89-88, 27 seconds left, this guy would drill a baseline jump shot against him every time. Hated him. He wasn't a media guy. He didn't run his mouth, but he would kill my Lakers, and I couldn't stand it.
I would say mine is LeBron James.
Oh, there you go. I agree with that.
Politics and all, yeah, I mean, he's a jerk off. I can't stand the guy.
He's not a team player. It's all about him.
Always has been.
How many points did I score? Trying to get his kid on his...
Yeah, that to me is a little over the top, too.
I got one more, and it goes back to the Red Wings. Who is the Avalanche guy that Darren McCarty from Detroit beat the shit out of? He's now a coach. I watched them the other night. They both did a documentary.
Hopefully one of our 5 followers will chime in. By the way,
can't remember his
TikTok, old.farts, 2.old.farts, and then Instagram, 2_old_farts. I don't know why it's taking me this long to get it. And I got to give a shout out to somebody, Stephen Foley, who is a realtor out in Clemson, chimed in and told me that he's been following the show. So shout out to Stephen Foley. We appreciate your support. In closing, boys, let's get your closing remarks. We've had a fun week going into June 2024.
I think Kurt needs to get into the old Trump thing a little bit deeper. He only
I got to get into what?
into Trump. The trial, the conviction.
Just give it a couple weeks. It'll change. He'll get the appeal. They'll pull it up.
You think he can win appeal in New York with 5 judges?
I think he's going to federal court.
I think if the Supreme Court entertains this case, which there's no guarantee that they will.
Well, they took Bush Gore.
That was a totally different circumstance. That was a national implication.
Still affects a federal election. They're going to have to.
I'll give you that.
And it's 6-3 on the court. They're going to take the case.
Well, they may be politically motivated, the Supreme Court. You never know. And I'll bet you'll be right there holding your sign up.
They are on one side of the court.
Free Trump 2024.
I can tell you that.
Yeah. Free Trump 2024. That said, folks, that concludes episode 8. Thank you all for tuning in. 2 Old Farts. Hey, we'll see you next week. But before we go, Kurt, I thought it'd only be fair if I if I'm gonna do Greg, I gotta do you as well. Pause. I didn't mean to say that. That's very.
You might as well play their fight song. Half Michigan's baseball team is on Clemson's team this year, so
Fair.
Well,
plus the coach.
I mean, we'll
Just
get
the best
into.
players.
We'll get into. There it is.
There you go. National champions.
I gotta get a producer or an audio guy. I can't get all this shit I gotta do here. Jesus. Too many responsibilities on this show. See you next week, folks.
See you guys. Thank you.